So last time I spoke at .NET Oxford, I started with a bit of a summary, so kind of talking about my previous talks, and I may have said something along the lines of back in April, we were essentially prisoners in our own home, and thankfully that's over. I mean, oops, hello fellow prisoners and welcome to Lockdown 2.0. In my talk this evening, I basically just want to kind of review the year to date, but try and put more of a positive spin on it. So who am I? My name is Megan. I'm an animal lover and hugely thankful that I have a beautiful Bernese mountain dog who's currently sitting here. She's been with me throughout lockdown and has been a great comfort. I also just saw Matt's cat make it to the screen, which is amazing. If nothing else, Indy has been brilliant for actually allowing you to go outside and do things outside of your own home, which is great. Outside my dog walking, I, like many others, have picked up a few lockdown hobbies. And when I say a few, I probably mean about one a week. So I started Pilates. I did a Slim in 6 DVD, although sadly it was Slim in 6 weeks and not 6 days. So actually I didn't really get to the end of that one. I also started extreme hula hooping. For anyone who's not ever done extreme hula hooping, it's basically working with a weighted hula hoop. It's either very, very dangerous or I do it very, very wrong, because either way I ended up covered in bruises. So I had to give that hobby up. And outside of my long list of hobbies, I'm one of the account managers at Corriculo and a regular .NET Oxford attendee. As Matt said at the beginning, we provide sponsorship for the event and have been with both Dan and Matt since they started .NET Oxford. We're a local recruitment agency and our roots are within IT, but as we've grown, we've also diversified and we cover a range of positions, industries and markets. Now, I'm conscious that I have spoken at quite a few of these virtual events and have been presenting, well, quite depressing subject matter, so channeling my inner Eeyore, if you like. So this evening, I wanted to present something a little bit more uplifting, potentially a little bit more Tigger, and definitely a little bit more me. So what have we learnt? We have learnt that people love a quiz. Companies, families, friends, your local pub. You've done Skype quizzes, Zoom quizzes, Microsoft Teams quizzes. And if I'm honest, I don't honestly think that I'm going to go to a quiz ever again. Actually, I think I've done all of the quizzes, so there would be no point. We've also realised that family is incredibly important. Having spent time with loved ones or even away from them because of lockdown, we have noticed how important these connections are, and not just family, but also friends and even colleagues. We've also been incredibly grateful for things such as Netflix or other. And if anyone hasn't watched it already, I would highly recommend The Fall. I've just finished it and it was brilliant. And on a side note, if you have any recommendations, I'm genuinely all ears, because I've recently started and maybe nearly completed all of the Christmas films on Netflix. And whilst I'm more than happy to do them again, I don't really think it's healthy or all that sane, actually. So any suggestions are welcome. So what's new? Well, working from home has become the new normal, and there has been an enormous cultural shift, and it's going to remain. So companies are going to have to offer remote working just to keep up with the rest of the market. And it's no longer going to be a perk, but it is going to be something that is a standard package. So job offers are now going to have to fit around people's lives. So if you're currently working in a fully remote role and now you're offered a position that involves maybe 2 to 3 days a week in the office, normally that wouldn't be considered abnormal and actually would be quite interesting and quite flexible. But if you're in a fully remote role now, it's not going to be ideal. It's going to have a huge impact on your life, and ultimately something that you probably won't now consider. There have, however, been benefits to working from home. So I have said healthier, as I think some people may have become healthier, but I, on the other hand, have discovered and regularly visit a snack cupboard, which is great. We're apparently going to be less tired, we're going to be less stressed, we're going to save money because we're not going to have to do that dreaded daily commute and sit in hours of endless traffic. And apparently we're going to be more productive because we're not going to catch up on last night's episode of Love Island, although kind of being in the group chats I'm in, we always do catch up on Love Island. On the flip side, working from home hasn't really been for everyone. I know I genuinely struggled with it at the beginning. It's lonely, and especially if you live alone, particularly in the height of lockdown, you were very rarely kind of speaking or even seeing other people at all. And another thing that can be incredibly hard with the remote working is getting that work-life balance, because now you live where you work and you find it difficult to separate the two and step away. You're constantly at your computer, you're checking that last email, you're maybe working late into the evening because, I mean, why not? There's nothing else to do at the moment apart from Netflix. And it can become unhealthy, and you can end up actually resenting the position that you do have. Now, for the record, whilst I enjoy flexibility, I do prefer working in the office, and that's not just for the Love Island chat, although it is a huge benefit. So locally, Oxford seems to have its own microclimate, and sectors that were most affected, so your travel and tourism, they're not areas that we wholly rely upon within Oxford. We rely upon kind of areas that are more solid, so the scientific R&D companies and the universities. And as a result of recent events, we've seen an enormous amount of funding into certain sectors, so healthcare and scientific R&Ds being one of those. And these are key sectors within Oxford, so we can see that locally we're just not going to be impacted in the same way that the wider economy has been. If we're looking ahead to 2021, as I said, there's been a huge shift in the way people operate. We've seen massive changes to working practices, increased remote working and flexibility being offered. That opens up an enormous opportunities for both candidates and clients, because now you're fishing in a much wider pool. There have been changes in the recruitment process, including releasing offers without actually meeting candidates. So that's helping to speed up the process itself, but also overcoming logistical challenges. So where candidates are based maybe further afield or even overseas. The universities have continued to invest in businesses, which has had a huge impact locally. So that's going to be creating more vacancies and setting Oxford apart from other cities. And as Otis Clay would say, for 2021, the only way is up, unless you know the Yaz version, in which case use that. So as said earlier, job offers are now going to have to kind of fit around people's lives, and companies more than ever are going to have to kind of work to hold on to the staff that they do have. Not only because you're going to compete, you're no longer going to be competing purely with local companies, you're going to be competing with the rest of the UK. So you'll need to offer something that is truly exciting or an excellent package. So I think we're going to see increases in things like unlimited holiday and company shares, and things like pizza lunches, which used to be great, are not going to be that relevant unless they deliver the pizza to you, of course. So what else have we learned? We have learned that businesses can be agile and adapt to certain situations, and ultimately be the better for it. So good office cultures survive even without the physical office. So the photo below was actually taken last Thursday when we did our virtual Corriculo award ceremony, because as a company we know how important it is to kind of get that team feel. We wanted to remind our current team how social we can be, and we also wanted to get to know some of our newer members of the team outside of a work call. It was so lovely to see how involved people got. We asked them to dress to impress, and you can see people did genuinely make the effort. We've got some of our directors here in full tux, which was great. And people got very involved in it and maybe a little bit carried away. We did have quite a few hangovers the next day. So it turns out that you don't have to go out with your colleagues to get totally drunk. But technology has enabled us to do all of this, and we're more connected than we ever have been, and we can use various platforms not only for social events like this, but we can also use it for things such as schooling and work. So what are we doing to help? I have covered these a few times previously, so I'll just leave them on the screen for you guys to have a look through. But basically, there are a few things that we're doing to currently help in the climate, so both for candidates, and that's on the screen at this moment in time. but also we are helping our clients as well, but also not just our clients, but other clients who want some advice. So there are a few different documents that we're able to send out to you. And if anyone would like some advice or a copy of those documents, please do get in touch and let us know. And thank you very much for listening.